What's up, everybody? This is Lance. I am the host of the Health and Real Estate podcast. And today's guest is Shelly Sideman. And she is an agent out of the New York and Connecticut area, licensed in both states. And she's also the founder of KW Clarity, which is an amazing KW community that I love. So we're going to dive into that and what it is. But let's just start with how you got started in real estate.
Thank you so much for having me, Lance. So my intro to real estate was just by chance. I'd like to think that it was just divine. I was in a dead-end job and I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I applied to a bunch of jobs, one of which being a director of operations on a real estate team in Connecticut. The more I heard about the job, I did have to go through career visioning, so that was a lot of fun. And the more I heard about the job, it seemed like a really perfect fit. And I ended up running that team for about 4 years. And I learned all the ins and outs of real estate and KW. So it was really rewarding.
Awesome. You learned all the KW language and systems and models and culture.
Absolutely. And I loved that role. It got to a point though where I had outgrown it. I had kind of hit the peak in that role and I figured, okay, the next step for me is to jump into production. So at the time, when was it? It was around between 2020 and 2021, I started toying with the idea. And at that time, we all know that's when the market started to shift. And I was just in a complete panic over getting into a role as a buyer's agent in a seller's market. I thought I was an idiot. And I remember I would talk to my coach and I'd be like, "Is this a bad idea? I'm really panicked here." And it got to a point where my anxiety had just overtaken me. I was in a complete freeze. I had a hard time getting up in the morning, and I didn't really know how to cope. I did not have good coping skills. So at that point, I figured, you know what? Let me go to a therapist. That's always worked for me in the past. Let me come up with a game plan for how to deal with this. And the therapist I picked, I didn't realize I picked a therapist that was a drug and alcohol abuse specialist. So I come into the first session and I explained to her this big career transition, and one of the first questions she asked me is, what's your drinking like? And I remember being so offended. Like, I'm here to talk about real estate, woman. Like, I'm not here to talk about anything else. And at that point, that was really the first time, getting sober was introduced to me. And it was cool because it's so closely tied to my career trajectory, and it felt like something I need to go through in order to succeed in real estate.
Definitely. And I'm sure you and I know, but real estate is a very drinking heavy industry. And I'm in the LA market almost any day of the week. You could probably find a happy hour somewhere sponsored by some vendors or something. So it comes by very easily in the real estate industry. So yeah, that was perfect that you found it was divine timing or synchronicity that you found a therapist who is also a substance abuse counselor. So when they asked you about how much you drink, you said you were like taken aback and offended. But where did where'd the conversation go after that initial like kind of shock?
It was a lot of defensiveness, and I really liked this therapist, so I did want to think about it. um, Especially because my career is so important to me. Having gotten into this business without knowing, I didn't even know what escrow was when I got into this business, and I was able to really build and become a professional. It was really important to me to examine all obstacles to that. So even though I pushed back in the session, I said, you know what, let me think about this. And I gave it a shot. I gave sobriety a shot for 4 months. And I don't even know if I like to call it sobriety. I was so embarrassed about it that I just called it a lifestyle choice. I didn't have a problem, guys. Like, I was fine. It was just I needed to do this for real estate. And I did feel much better. But I think the fact that I couldn't confront the fact that, I don't have a healthy relationship with alcohol, it made it really hard for me to do it for real. So, 4 months went by. Um, I kind of talked myself into picking up another drink. And, after that drink, I was like, this is not the same as it was. I don't like this anymore.
Mhm.
And, I went 4 months. That was such a big milestone for me. I don't want to have to, reset my time count. It felt really crappy to do that. So I think picking up the drink really helped me understand, I don't want to drink. I feel much more clear-headed. And, if I want to live a long and happy and healthy life, and if I want to achieve all of the things I want to achieve in life and in real estate, um, I think I have to really re-examine what I'm doing with my drinking. And I think I have to really give it an honest shot. So at that point, I said, okay, it's time to do this for real. And I just kept on going, and yeah,
Awesome. How long has it been now since you've been sober?
God willing, this coming May will be 5 years, which is
Awesome.
unbelievable.
Congratulations. This
Thank you.
I think this March will be 5 years for me too. Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. So how would you describe sobriety?
Well, so for starters, the name KW Clarity is not, just any old name.
Mhm.
Clarity was very intentional because that's what I felt. Maybe it was the pink cloud, that was a part of it, but now especially almost at 5 years, clarity is a big part of what sobriety is for me. For me, it's realizing my full potential. I think alcohol was such an obstacle to that. Um, you know, Being able also to deal with life on life's terms, that was not something I could ever do.
Mhm.
Um, I remember when I was an admin, when stuff would get difficult, I could walk up and down the halls of my office and say, "Hey, you want to go to happy hour? You want to get a drink?" Didn't matter the time of day. That was just a coping mechanism. Now that I don't have that, I've had to learn how to actually work through stuff. Um, Sobriety is also showing up not only as a better professional, but a better person. My relationships are stronger and deeper. I am better to my clients, to my friends, to my peers. Um, and that's a big deal because I think for so long when I was drinking, I assumed I was a good person, but I really wasn't pulling my weight in relationships. And, that's just to name a few, but the list goes on and on. There's so many gifts I've gotten from sobriety. I'm so grateful that I did find this path.
Awesome. Yeah, me too. And I wasn't uh like an addict with alcohol. I mostly just drank socially and I used it as a social lubricant and help get confidence too. But I never liked the taste of alcohol, like beer or liquor. I literally just drank to get drunk or tipsy. And once I cut it out, for me, it all started with like just a 30-day challenge, no alcohol. And it was so funny because I was like late 20s and I was just like, to me, it sounded impossible. 30 days, no alcohol. Cause I would usually go out at least once a weekend with friends and, we would drink. And after that 30 days, I realized, oh, wow, it really wasn't that hard. And then I just kept going and going and going. And then almost 5 years later, but it's just so funny how like I thought 30 days was impossible. And now I'm at the point where it's like, oh, I don't ever have to drink again. I don't see any positive drinking again. And I just have so much more clarity. So that's why I actually really love the name behind KW Clarity instead of it being called like KW Sober or something like that. So,
Absolutely.
how did KW Clarity start? Because you're the founder of it.
Yeah, so I was pretty early on in recovery. I think I was about 4 months, and I was attending my first family reunion since I got sober, and it was Family Reunion Orlando. I remember a lot about it. It was a very raw experience. Family reunion, we all know, like I used to be so excited to go because I knew, okay, we hustle hard from 8 to 4 or 8 to 5, and then we get hammered. Like it was fun. That was something I always looked forward to, and I didn't know what it would be like now, and I was so scared, and I was just so anxious the whole time. Um, I remember I would just tear up a lot because I remember I would walk through the halls and I would see, different groups of people, whether it was like KW Luxury or KWYP or KW Rainbow. And I would see people seeing agent friends that they haven't seen in a while and they were so excited. And I felt like so out of place. Like I didn't know where I really fit into that equation. I didn't really see myself in the masses of people, and it was pretty isolating. It was in one of those moments of just feeling really down in the dirt and kind of alone that I had a realization. I was like, wait a minute, like we're at the biggest real estate company in the world. If I can't find other people who are feeling what I'm feeling or who are, doing this sobriety thing, then it just means I'm not looking hard enough. I attribute a lot of this, all of the motion around it to my pink cloud because like especially before recovery, like I am not the type of person to reach out to a bunch of people at a massive company and be like, join my group. Just it's not me. But I felt like there was, I don't mean to sound cheesy, but it almost felt like God was like pushing me to do this. And or whatever higher power you believe in, I just felt like there was something outside of me that was telling me there's a need for this group and you need to make it. So
Yeah,
when I got back from family reunion, I remember I immediately told my coach so that, I couldn't hide from it. I had the accountability. And she sent me a list of all the team leaders in the US. And I sent out an email. I said, here's our Facebook group. I'm looking for my people. Help me find them. And that's really where we started. And it started just as a small idea that, grew into something really impactful, which is just awesome.
definitely. So it all started at family reunion in Orlando several years back. So who is KW Clarity for?
So KW Clarity it's mainly for anyone that is impacted by substance addiction, either directly or indirectly. So we have people that, are addicts and alcoholics themselves, or they have relatives or loved ones that are. But we've also opened up the group for people who just don't drink for whatever reason. We have someone in the group that doesn't drink, has never picked up a drink. Alcoholism runs in their family, and they just didn't want to risk it. And they just are sick and tired of going to events where it's all about the booze. Like they want to like actually hang out with people. So we're kind of open-ended in that way, but we definitely do focus on recovery support since it is something that's lacking in our world. We don't have that connection to the recovery world in an industry that's like so filled with alcohol use.
Mhm. Absolutely. And it's also open for people who are sober curious, right? Or alcohol reductionism and things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as I said, this is we like to keep it open because we want to show people like this is the new way of things. I got sober around the same time as you did, in my late 20s. And like, if it was maybe like 5, 10 years back when I tried to get sober, it would be even scarier than it was. Like being young, everybody's going out and drinking. It could feel really isolating. But like, we're at a time right now where NA beers is like a thing. They're starting to produce them more and more. They're starting to produce, alcohol removed liquors and things like that because like that's just where people are at. People just don't want to drink as much. They're a bit more conscientious of what they're putting in their body. So I think we started it at the perfect time because that's really a growing movement. And again, like we've seen all different types of people in our group. A lot of my closest friends, they're not necessarily addicts or alcoholics, but they just, don't really care to drink. And they're in our group and they love what they get from it.
Absolutely. And yeah, I've noticed there has been a big trend of, I guess, the younger generation is, I think, kind of leading the way, but a lot of the younger generation is alcohol free. They're not doing alcohol. And I also notice a lot of millennials like us are stopping or reducing alcohol. So there is kind of this like cultural shift of alcohol not being cool anymore. Have you noticed that?
Absolutely. And it's like, again, I'm so glad that I got sober when I did. Um, because like, every day I see a new article about some, research that's being debunked about, drinking is actually not that good for you anymore, guys. Like maybe cool it with the bottle of wine a night. Like,
Nothing.
um, but that's why I think, everything happened according to like divine timing. You know, we're also working to make market centers more aware of this. Like, look, we're not here to tell anyone what's cool and what's not. I'm not a medical professional. Like, I have no authority to say that. We just want to let people know that, like, hey, we're here. There might be some people in your world that are also going through the same thing. And if you want to see what it's like on this side, like, come hang out with us. That's really all we're doing.
Absolutely. And then so when you're in the group, what all does that consist of? Because I know there's a Facebook group with several hundred members, I think like 700 something members. So what all does KW Clarity offer?
So we do a few things. For starters, it's just a place to share some wins or questions that are more recovery focused. So, we have a lot of people here and there posting different milestones they've hit, which is just really cool. You have one person who's celebrating 60 days, you have another person celebrating 30 years. Like it's such a wide variety of people just at different places in their journey. We also have Zoom calls periodically. Some of these are real estate focused, so we like to have masterminds to help agents grow their business. The cool thing about these masterminds is that it's kind of a free space to talk about the fact that we don't drink. So, like, if we're talking about client events, let's say, a lot of us aren't really crazy about offering alcohol at client events because some of our
Mhm.
clients might not drink or they might have addictions themselves. And just being able to talk about it through the lens of the struggles that are unique to our group is really powerful. We also have some top producing agents that will come on and share their story both in real estate and recovery. So, we're continuing to explore ways to bring value to the group. And another big one actually is at those events like family reunion and mega camp. We do get the group connected with meetings. So if anybody needs extra support, there are meetings for anyone who you know just doesn't want to feel tempted by the environment. We get the group connected with a group chat at those events. If anybody needs a roommate at those events, so just thinking about the areas in which though like our group might struggle and trying to find ways to provide value and support.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm in the Facebook group, which I love. So there's community in the Facebook group, and most KW communities also have the online community, but if you're in a major city, there's usually a local chapter as well. So and then you guys have the Zooms, like mastermind Zooms. I was on the one, I believe it was last week. I forget the guy's name, but he was a younger guy, recently quit alcohol, and he also said his business skyrocketed after he quit alcohol. But he also started a clothing line. It was called something like Nightclubs Suck, or do you know who I'm talking about?
It's Ty was on. He is so cool. Yeah. And you bring up a really good point that I realized maybe a year or two into it. If you look at our group and you compare or you look to see how many of those are top producing agents, even in the top, 10 to 20% of agents nation, they make up such a big percentage of our group, and that's not a coincidence. You know, there are so many agents that attribute their success to sobriety. So it's really cool to be able to show people like, hey, yeah, it's good for your health, but by the way, like it's going to be good for your business, and
Yeah,
here are the ways it is.
definitely. It's good for your health, it's good for your business, your relationships, just everything. And that was another reason, one of the last times I drank, because in my late 20s, I was like starting to teeter back on drinking. Because as you get older, it just affects you more and more. My body was just disagreeing more and more. It's like, no, no, no. So I was drinking way less, like maybe once a month or this or that. But at one point, I was just like, I didn't even drink much, but I was hung over for like 2 or 3 days. It wasn't like a super hangover, but it was more just like an energy hangover. I just felt like blah. Like I wasn't myself, I wasn't my best, and I just hate not feeling my best. So that was like one of the final times. It was literally like 2 drinks, and I just took me 2, 3 days to like fully get out of that funk. And I'm like, yeah, it's not worth it. Not at all.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, this is something we talk about in our group a lot. I was lucky where I have not picked up a drink in the entirety that I've been licensed. I don't know how agents who drink are able to run a business. You know, we've talked about in our groups how like, negotiating contracts when you're drunk, like we are responsible for people's money, you know. These are some of people's, you know, largest purchases or largest sales in their lifetime. And we really need to be sharp. So, I think that that's another part that we always talk about that, like, if we really want to be our best in this business, we have to really understand what type of responsibility people are placing in our hands, and we have to take it seriously.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So there's several hundred members. Do you have or do you want to share some like success stories that people that join?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have so many. I would say when we first started, the one thing I really want to touch on is just the response we got from people that were already in this community. There was so much relief around this. It was really something that people were looking for. Um, we know the industry we're in, and I give kudos to people who have been doing it for, 20, 30 years in real estate and 20, 30 years in recovery. And they've kind of had to just fend for themselves and understand the field that they're in. So it's really cool to be able to bring this space to those people and to everyone else, as kind of a place of comfort to know you don't have to, put on that face everywhere else. You could just be yourself with us. We know what you're going through. We're going through it too. Um, Other than that, I mean, this happens probably, every month or, I'm sure every day if you talk to other agents in the group. But we're finding that, the more we talk about clarity, we get calls from not only people that are struggling, but also from leadership. So I've fielded a lot of calls since we started from leadership just asking us for help.
Mhm.
And that's a really cool thing. I got a call a few years back from a team leader. Someone on his staff was struggling and he just didn't know what to do. And we were able to help talk him through it. And those are things that didn't exist in our world before. We have people who have spouses that are struggling and being able to connect them with, either the resources in their area or someone in our group who went through something really similar. Those are just invaluable things that beforehand people didn't really know where to turn. It felt really helpless. And now they're like, okay, if it's anything to do with addiction or, quitting drinking, I know exactly where I can go. Um, and other than that, I mean, we always get the heartwarming story too of a lot of us in the group share our stories on Facebook. I'm very loud and proud about my recovery because I know I'll get one call from someone saying, "I saw you posted this a while back. I've been sober now for this many days." And then we know it's all, it was all worth it for us to share our story. And it's funny, since Clarity started, I don't know if this is by accident, but my Facebook feed is filled with agents who are sharing their story. And it's kind of like a ripple effect, we kind of shine the light so that
Hmm.
it reaches someone else who's in need of that beacon of hope. And it sounds so cheesy, but whenever you get that one call, even if it's one call a year, it is the most heartwarming call we could get. It's to know that we made a difference. And that was really our goal getting Clarity started. It took a mindset shift for us, because we got Clarity started when other communities were being introduced. So wellness was getting a huge revamp, and all of the communities really were being beefed up to reach the community better. And those other communities had really different standards than we were looking to have. Their standards were, how can we attract as many people as possible? Can we provide value and monetize this in a way to really make this a profitable venture? For us, it was never about the money. There is no monetization component of our community. For us, we said from day one, if we can help one person, we've done our job. And thank God we've helped so many more than we thought we could, and we're just getting started.
Yeah, I love that. So I do feel like it's just getting started, and there's this huge wave of people, stopping, quitting, or reducing alcohol. And there's so much more information today than there was before on how bad it actually is for our health. And there's just this health wave coming, as well. So it's like kind of the perfect storm for this. So, what kind of is the future of KW Clarity? I know you got some leadership in place. So, what's that looking like?
Yeah, and so recently it's been for me, I think 5 years, or no, a little bit less than 5 years that I've been in the leadership seat. I handed over the reins to one of our members, Layla Wright. She is, a long time in recovery. She's out of the Johnson City, Tennessee office. Uh, I'm so excited for her to take this and run with this. And it just came time for a new perspective, a new vision. We're keeping all of the original heart of this, and we're going to add more and more. And that's a very important thing for us. In some communities, it might make sense for one person to carry the torch the whole time or for an extended period of time. For us, our community is made up of so many people from so many backgrounds, so many experiences. So we need that new life. Right now, I know Layla is working on continuing to identify people to represent different regions. So, we're really continuing to look for the people we haven't yet reached. It doesn't matter how long we've been doing this. Our company is huge. If you want to know how big our company is huge, just start a community and try to reach all of our market centers. It's very overwhelming. Um, but this is kind of a lifetime goal for us, so to speak, where we know we're not going to get everything done in 1 year or 1 month or whatever it is. But we're just going to continue to try to find our people, learn from them, understand how we can better serve them, um, learn the areas in which they might need extra support, um, whether it pertains to real estate, recovery, or both.
Mhm.
And continue to especially let leadership know, you don't need to know how to handle situations as they come up. That's why we're here to help. And also letting leadership know that you may not know it, but there are probably people like us in your world. And, it's okay to just be mindful about, people who might not drink, and trying to be the best leadership you can for those individuals.
Definitely, 100%. And I want to go back to what you said, how hard it is to reach everyone at Keller Williams, because there's there's like 170,000 plus agents at Keller Williams, and there's over 800 market centers at Keller Williams. So that is a tough task. And you said you're trying to find regional leadership with KW Clarity. What does that look like if someone
Um,
wants to step up into that? Because I might be interested.
Wonderful. So, I would say definitely first and foremost, get in our group. We have a Facebook page. If you just search KW Clarity, the private group will come up. You can either get in touch with, you could post in the group, or you could get in touch with Layla Wright, who is our, as I mentioned, our new leader now. She is spearheading that. Um, and that really works as bringing the message to the market centers, and it's looked different in different market centers. We've been really flexible about it because we understand every market center is not kind of built the same.
Mhm.
Some have 20 agents, some have 1,000 agents, and we're mindful of that. But our biggest goal is, figuring out a way to bring the message locally. Does it mean maybe encouraging, NA options at office events? That's one avenue. It includes also some, fun, non-alcoholic, just hangout options for you and your fellow office mates. There's so many times where I get an office email about an office happy hour and I'm just rolling my eyes because it's like, okay, I'm not going to that. Just introducing new things so that the focus isn't always alcohol. It's also as simple as getting on an office call and saying, and, introducing what you're doing and bringing the message there. Um, One thing we always say about clarity, I like to use the analogy of asking your database for referrals. When you call your database and you ask for a referral, what are the chances that you're going to get a referral on that call? It's usually slim to none. Like, somebody doesn't say like, "Oh, I'm so glad you called because here's a list of 5 people who are looking to buy or sell a home in your area." Like, it doesn't happen.
Nice.
Um, it would be nice and I wouldn't have to work as hard, but it doesn't happen. But we ask for referrals to remind those people so that when they do come across someone, they know exactly who to go to. The same thing is true of clarity. A lot of the time, it's just us raising our hand and saying, "Hey, we're here. Don't forget us," so that when someone does go through this, or they see someone they love, or they care about going through it, whether in their office or in their world, they know exactly who to turn to. And that's a big part of what we're doing. That's why this type of thing is, it's okay if it's slow. We're not going to see the same growth and trajectory as other KW communities, and that's okay. We just want to make sure that the KW world knows we're here to help. Whenever you're ready, this is where you can turn.
Perfect. I love it. So yeah, if I'm interested in doing that for the LA region, should I reach out to, is it Layla?
Layla, or even just, post in our group and we'll get you connected. We know realtors have a lot going on, so we want to make it as easy as possible for you. If you write in the group, we'll tag the appropriate people and they'll get you set up. But they're meeting, I believe, on a monthly basis now, just for accountability, just to see where people are at and get some ideas, some masterminding from the group. And we'll help you get set up pretty quickly.
Perfect. And then if there is any KW agent out there who's interested in learning more about KW Clarity, where should they go?
Well, we have two options. Again, you could go to our Facebook group, just type in KW Clarity. We are a closed group and we'll let you in. Or we have a link tree, which I can share with you separately, that has basically everything you need to know about us, what we're doing. We also have public Facebook and Instagram pages with some inspiration and just some reminders about anything upcoming that we're doing.
Perfect. And if you want to give me all the links, I'll share everything in the show notes when this episode's published. And this is a free group too, right? You said you guys aren't monetized, so and this is available to any KW agent or associate, right?
Correct. Yeah, you don't have to be an agent. You can be an admin. We do have a few admins in our group. You could be leadership, anything within the KW world. I think we even have some people from our corporate office. We're here to help the whole world as far as KW is concerned.
Awesome. And this is to anyone who's sober, sober curious, wants to learn more, wants to reduce alcohol. So I absolutely love it. I love what you're doing. I love KW Clarity, and I will help spread the word.
Thanks so much. I'm so happy to get to be a part of this with you today.
Yes. Is there anything else that we didn't mention that you want to talk about with KW Clarity?
Not as much KW clarity, just a message to any KW agents who are considering this or who are struggling. If you join the group, you're going to see pretty quickly that this life is not as scary as it seems. There's so many of us. We're thriving, we're happy, we're healthy. And if you spend even just a short time surrounded by us, you're going to feel excited about this. It's the best decision I made, and I wish it upon anybody who wants it.
Perfect. Well, great. And then Shelly, so tell us about your real estate business and what areas you service.
Absolutely, the fun stuff. So I am part of a big team in Connecticut, and we're also expanding to New York. So we really cover all of Connecticut. We're selling about 400 to 500 homes a year. So we have a very well-oiled machine, and we're happy to service any referrals in that region. And I am also based now in Queens. I cover New York City, Long Island, Westchester. I am originally a New Yorker, so that's where my heart is, and would love to help with any referrals in those two areas.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I had a blast with this podcast, and I think it's going to be very, very beneficial for a lot of
And thanks for sharing the message.